Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be looking at some really interesting research on epilepsy in Labradoodles.
Oh, yeah.
Our main source is this study titled Phenotypic Characterization and Quality of Life of Labradoodles with Idiopathic Epilepsy and Epilepsy of Unknown Cause.
Right.
Quite a mouthful, I know, but the findings are fascinating.
It's a very relevant study because we know quite a bit about epilepsy in Labrador retrievers and standard poodles.
Yeah.
But the specifics in Labradoodles are just starting to be explored.
Right.
And this research gives us a much clearer picture.
Absolutely. And this isn't just about diagnoses. The study looks at the types of seizures these dogs experience, how often they occur, and what factors might be involved. Plus, it even looks at the quality of life for both the dogs and their owners.
Yeah, and that comparison to the parent breeds labs and poodles is really key here.
Right.
It helps us understand if Labradoodles might be predisposed to epilepsy, and if so, how it compares to their lineage.
Okay, so let's get into some of these findings. The study focused on 40 Labradoodles in Europe, all diagnosed with either idiopathic epilepsy, suspected idiopathic epilepsy, or epilepsy of unknown cause. Essentially, this means the root cause of the epilepsy isn't clear.
Exactly. And what they found was that male Labradoodles were more likely to be diagnosed than females. The average age when these dogs started having seizures was around 2.3 years old.
Okay.
Which is pretty consistent with what we see in Labrador retrievers.
So that age range is something for potential Labradoodle owners to keep in mind.
Yes.
Now, what kinds of seizures were these dogs experiencing?
The majority experience what are called generalized tonic-clonic seizures, which is the most common type we see in dogs.
Yeah.
This involves the whole body, with the dog losing consciousness, stiffening up, and then having jerking movements.
Okay.
Some of the Labradoodles had focal seizures, which means only part of the body is affected, or a mix of both types.
Interesting. And how often were these seizures happening?
Yeah.
Was it pretty frequent?
On average, the dogs had about 5.4 seizures per year.
Okay.
That's actually lower than what's typically seen in Labrador retrievers, but higher than in standard poodles. So again, those parent breed comparisons are giving us some clues.
It's interesting how those numbers fluctuate even within related breeds. Now, the study also dug into whether these dogs needed medication to manage their epilepsy.
Yes.
What did they find there?
This is where it gets really interesting. A good chunk of the dogs, about 33%, either didn't need any medication at all, or they only needed one type of anti-seizure medication.
Okay.
That's a pretty positive outcome compared to some other breeds where multiple medications are often necessary.
That is good news for Labradoodle owners, for sure.
Yeah.
But, of course, each dog is different and needs to be treated on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
The study also looked at what might trigger seizures in these dogs.
Yeah.
Any surprises there?
Not surprisingly, stress was a major culprit.
Oh.
A whopping 95% of the dogs had seizures that were linked to some kind of stressor.
That's the burning question, though. What types of stress are we talking about?
Unfortunately, the study didn't delve into specifics.
Okay.
They mentioned things like trips to the vet, being groomed, or even just having visitors over as potential triggers. So everyday events can be tough for a stress-sensitive Labradoodle.
It really highlights how crucial it is for owners to understand their dog's stress signals.
Yes.
And try to create a calm and predictable environment.
Right.
Now, despite these challenges, the study also found something pretty remarkable about the quality of life for both the dogs and their owners.
It is remarkable. The study used a 10-point scale to assess quality of life.
Really?
The Labradoodles scored an average of 8.3, and their owners reported a 7.3.
Okay.
To put that into perspective, those scores are comparable to breeds like golden retrievers and chihuahuas, which are generally considered to have a good quality of life despite having epilepsy.
That's really reassuring to hear. It means that even with epilepsy, Labradoodles and their owners can still experience a high level of well-being.
Right.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and delve into the genetics of epilepsy in Labradoodles.
Okay.
The study touched on this briefly, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
The study itself didn't conduct any genetic testing, but it referenced a separate study that found the Poodle genome to be dominant in Labradoodles.
Interesting.
Now, this is fascinating because standard poodles typically have a lower seizure frequency than Labrador retrievers.
So you might assume that Labradoodles would inherit that lower frequency, but the study we're discussing actually found the opposite.
Right. It suggests that there might be other genetic factors at play, perhaps from other breeds in their lineage.
That's the crux of the matter.
Yeah.
How much of this is genetic predisposition versus environmental factors?
Exactly. Unraveling that complexity is key to understanding epilepsy in Labradoodles more fully. And that's where the need for more research comes in.
Right.
This study is a great starting point.
Yeah.
But it raises more questions than it answers.
Absolutely.
We need larger, more diverse studies to really nail down the genetic components at play here.
But in the meantime, what can Labradoodle owners and breeders do with this information?
Right.
How can they apply these findings to real-world situations?
Well, for starters, it's about awareness.
Okay.
Knowing that epilepsy is a possibility in Labradoodles, especially as they reach that 2 to 3-year-old mark,
right,
is crucial.
Yeah.
Owners should be familiar with the signs of a seizure and have a plan in place with their vet.
Right. So education is key.
Yes.
What are some red flags that owners should be on the lookout for?
As we mentioned, generalized tonic-clonic seizures are the most common.
Right.
So if you see your dog lose consciousness, fall to the ground, stiffen up.
Right. And then start jerking, that's a clear sign.
Okay.
There might also be drooling, urination, or defecation.
Yeah, it sounds pretty alarming. But knowing what to do in those moments is critical.
Absolutely. So the most important thing is to stay calm and keep yourself safe.
Okay.
Your dog is not aware of what's happening during a seizure.
Right.
Clear the area around them so they don't injure themselves on anything.
Okay.
Don't try to restrain them or put anything in their mouth.
So no intervening directly.
Right.
Just make sure they're safe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Instead, focus on timing the seizure and observing what's happening. That information will be helpful for your vet.
Right.
Once the seizure is over, comfort your dog gently and contact your vet to discuss next steps.
Now, we talked about stress being a big trigger.
Yes.
How can Labradoodle owners create a less stressful environment for their dogs?
Right.
Especially given that everyday things seem to set them off.
Routine and predictability are key.
Consistent feeding times, regular exercise, and plenty of mental stimulation can make a big difference in keeping stress levels down.
Okay.
Also, try to be mindful of potential triggers.
Right.
Like loud noises or sudden changes in their schedule.
So a calm and structured environment can really go a long way.
Exactly.
Now, what about breeders?
Yes.
Knowing that epilepsy can occur in Labradoodles,
right.
What steps can they take to potentially reduce the risk in their litters?
That's the crux of the matter, isn't it?
Yeah.
While there's no way to completely eliminate the risk, responsible breeding practices can help.
Yeah.
Choosing to breed only dogs with no history of epilepsy in their lineage is a good starting point.
So careful selection of breeding pairs is essential.
Yes.
Are there any genetic tests available specifically for epilepsy in Labradoodles?
Unfortunately, not yet.
Okay.
Research is ongoing in that area.
Right.
But for now, transparency about a dog's family history is crucial. Breeders should be open with potential owners about any instances of epilepsy in the dog's family tree.
Honesty and open communication are so important.
Yes.
It allows potential owners to make informed decisions about whether a Labradoodle is the right fit for their family.
Right.
Now, this might seem like a lot of doom and gloom.
Sure.
But the study also had some encouraging findings about treatment options and quality of life.
That's right.
Okay.
Remember, a significant percentage of the Labradoodles in the study didn't require medication.
Right.
And many of those who did only needed one type of anti-seizure medication.
Yeah.
That's more positive than what we see in some other breeds.
It suggests that in many cases, epilepsy in Labradoodles can be managed effectively. And despite this diagnosis, both the dogs and their owners reported high quality of life scores.
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable.
It really speaks to the resilience of this breed and the strong bond they have with their owners.
Right.
Epilepsy can be challenging, but it doesn't have to define a dog's life.
Now, the study also highlighted the importance of recognizing serious situations like cluster seizures and status epilepticus.
Yes.
Which require immediate vet attention.
Right.
Can you remind our listeners what those terms mean?
Sure.
And what they should do if they encounter them?
Certainly. Cluster seizures are when a dog has multiple seizures within a short period, usually within 24 hours.
Okay.
Status epilepticus is a prolonged seizure lasting more than 5 minutes, or when a dog has multiple seizures without regaining consciousness in between.
Okay.
Both require immediate veterinary care.
So if you see your Labradoodle experiencing either of these, don't hesitate.
Right.
Get them to a vet or an emergency animal hospital right away.
Exactly.
Okay.
Time is of the essence in these situations.
Yeah.
Delays in treatment can increase the risk of complications, including potential brain damage.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the science behind epilepsy and Labradoodles to the practical implications for owners and breeders. But as we wrap up, I think it's important to emphasize that this research is just the beginning.
Absolutely. There's still so much more to learn.
Right.
We need to continue exploring the genetic underpinnings of epilepsy in Labradoodles and developing even more effective treatment and management strategies.
And as we learn more, we'll be better equipped to provide these wonderful dogs with the care and support they need to thrive.
Right.
As we wrap up our deep dive into epilepsy and Labradoodles, I keep coming back to that idea of resilience.
Yeah.
Despite facing this condition, these dogs and their owners are still finding ways to live full and happy lives.
It's truly remarkable. Even with this diagnosis, they reported those high quality of life scores. It speaks volumes about the incredible bond between Labradoodles and their humans.
It makes you wonder what it is about this breed
that
fosters such a strong connection, even in the face of adversity.
That's the burning question, isn't it? While the study didn't directly address that, we know that Labradoodles are often described as intelligent, social, and eager to please. Those traits likely contribute to their ability to form strong attachments with their owners.
And those strong attachments can make all the difference when it comes to navigating the ups and downs of managing a chronic condition like epilepsy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that loving support can help a Labradoodle feel safe and secure, which can in turn reduce stress and maybe even play a role in minimizing seizure frequency.
Like there's a beautiful synergy at play here.
Yeah.
The very qualities that make Labradoodles such beloved companions also help them cope with the challenges of epilepsy.
It's a testament to the incredible adaptability of both dogs and humans. We learn to adjust, to find new ways to connect and support each other, even when life throws us curveballs.
And those adjustments, those acts of love and care can transform a potentially scary diagnosis into a journey of resilience and shared strength.
This deep dive has reinforced for me that knowledge is empowering.
Absolutely.
The more we understand about canine epilepsy, specifically in Labradoodles, the better equipped we are to provide these wonderful dogs with the care and support they need to thrive.
If there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this episode, it's a sense of hope.
Yes.
Epilepsy in Labradoodles is manageable, and with early detection, proper veterinary care, and a loving and supportive home environment.
Absolutely.
These dogs can live long, happy, and fulfilling lives.
Beautifully said. So to all the Labradoodle owners out there, keep those tails wagging, those hearts full, those minds inspired from Vet NeuroJar. Keep those minds inspired, hearts light, and tails wagging.